Hello guys, here we want to convey about public policy. Okay, introduce myself. My name is Iga Fredi Ani and NPM 1916041043.
My name is Fabima Rahmatin. My student number is 19160411039.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Iqbal from University of Lampung State, major in Public Administration 2019.
I want to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Alif Listiansyah and my NPM 1916041053.
Hi, my name is Sabilah Zakiyah. My NPM is 1916041061.
Hello everyone, my name is Tiara Audia, NPM 1916041031.
Definition of policy according to expert. Robert S.A.N, as quoted by Leo Agustino, 2008, defines public policy as the relationship between government units and their environment. According to Nugroho, there are two characteristics of public policy, namely, 1. Public policy is to understand because it means things that are done to achieve national goals. 2. Public policy is something that is easily measured because the measure is clear, namely the extent to which progress has been made in achieving the goals. Thomas Erdai, as quoted by Islami 2009, defines public policy as is whatever government choose to do or not to do. Whatever the government choose to do or not to do, this definition emphasizes that public policy is about the embodiment of action and is not a mere statement of the wish of the government or public official. Besides that, the government's choice not to do something is also a public policy because it has influence. The same effect as the government's choice to do something. Based on the opinions of these various experts, it can be concluded that public policy is a series of actions taken or not carried out by the government which is oriented toward certain goals to solve public problems or in the public interest.
The policy to do something is usually contained in the provision or legislation made by the government, so that it has a binding and compelling nature. Policy objective: 1. To create order society. 2. To protect people's rights. 3. To create peace and peace in society. 4. To create people's welfare. Concept and characteristic of public policy. The concept of public policy in carrying out like us a society in rule of law is not new if money problems arise in social life. Meanwhile, the state is required to be able to solve existing problems and also be able to solve them. Therefore, the leaders in this country agreed to create public policies that are excited to be a solution and a way out in solving existing problems. Aminah said that policy is an effort or action influence the system. General policies, according to Zainal Abidin, can be divided into three levels. General policies, namely policies that serve as guidelines or implementation guidelines, both positive and negative, covering the entire region or agency concerned. Public policy characteristic. 1. Public policy is more of an action that leads to a goal rather than random and accidental behavior or action. State policy in modern politics is not an act of coincidence and plan one. 2. Interrupt and pattern or action that lead to specific goals by government officials and are not independent decisions. 3. Policies are related to what the government does in certain fields. 4. Public policy bias in a form of positive, bias in the form of negative, and influence and decisions of government officials in cases where government interference is not required to act or take action.
Election implementation policy in Indonesia during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since its inception, COVID-19 has introduced new urgent challenges for societies and democratic systems around the world. In the span of a few months, the pandemic has transformed fundamental aspects of individual social life. Limited participation in public events and gatherings and challenged the fulfillment of individual and collective citizenship responsibilities and the political rights of communities. One of them is an election. An election is a major social event which mobilizes millions of people and unites entire communities. The pandemic is rapidly becoming a challenge in organizing elections, making new and pressing elections arise from the requirement for voters to vote directly at the polls, often on a single day. Having to gather a polling station and handle election equipment that has been touched by many people, while having to be in a crowded space where maintaining a safe distance from others may be difficult or even impossible, to be a new challenge and a potentially serious threat to health, individual or public. Requiring physical presence at polling stations for voters, as well as polling station officials' presence and individual health risks, and can spread the virus more rapidly and exacerbate the impact of infection in all communities in the neighborhood. When considering the feasibility of holding elections during a pandemic, the dilemmas most often faced by decision makers can be: first, how to ensure sufficient and credible voter turnout to ensure the representation and legitimacy of the resulting democratic institutions. Second, how to provide a safe voting environment for both voters and officials voting, and minimizing the health risks associated with all electoral operations that require direct interaction, including, for example, for the registration, election campaigns, polling and counting processes, monitoring, etc. Third, how to present regardless of the restrictions imposed during a pandemic an election process that is transparent and accountable, who has a high level of integrity. 4. How to ensure that all stages and activities included in the electoral process are inclusive and safe for vulnerable age groups or ethnic minorities who are particularly vulnerable to disease. Several factors such as cultural aspects, language barriers, income inequality, facial difference, job losses, and housing difference have been found to make certain racial groups and ethnic minorities more vulnerable to COVID-19. That's all from me. Thank you.
The important thing that becomes the question is the health of voters, of the health of democracy. Countries use different frameworks, systems, and practice to determine which entity is ultimately responsible for determining, postponing, or holding scheduled election during a national emergency. In some contexts, decisions lie in the legislative, judicial, or executive branch, or a combination. In other contexts, the EMB may be legally mandated to make decisions like this, to vote for postponement and to schedule new election date. The BPP is legally responsible for administering some or all of the elements essential to administering election and direct democratic instruments. Regardless of which institution is mandated with decision-making, the serious health risk of a pandemic, necessitating choosing what prioritizes the health of citizens or the health of the national democracy. In practice, is it not required to choose either of these two extreme goals, but rather to ensure that voting is safe and technically sound and obtains the necessary legitimacy? As noted above, the main threat that the election being held during a pandemic could have an impact on public health, a risk from having to gather for a limited time, usually one day, in tight and crowded places, polling stations where rules are maintained. Cleanliness and safe distance from others may be difficult. When choosing the whole election in this condition, decisions about the time and place of direct polling can be have major implications for determining and answering voter safety. Therefore, when considering how to minimize the health-related risks posed by the pandemic, decision-making bodies need to thoroughly and realistically consider the impact of these two important factors in the conduct of the vote.
Although specific voting arrangements have become part of the electoral framework, they may need to be introduced When enforced, this arrangement usually serves a special category of voters, such as persons with reduced mobility. For example, elderly citizens in medical facilities, prisoners incarcerated in prison, or polling officers working in an electoral district where they are not from, or those who are not in the constituency where they are registered on election day, for example, because they live abroad. Once part of the electoral framework, specific voting arrangements may need to be expanded across voters. If not, it will need to be identified, introduced through legislative change, designed, tested, implemented, and monitored from the ground up. Special voting arrangements are an important safety measure to provide voters with an alternative and possibly safer way to vote. Such an arrangement can also reduce the impact of fear of infection on voter turnout and the availability of personnel essential to managing polling stations.